Welcome back to the Stretch It Out podcast, yo. Woo. Is that going to be your thing every time?
It is. That's my thing all the time. Woo-hoo.
All right. We are back. Episode number 2.
Duh.
And it's good to say that.
Duh.
It's good to say that because all day today I've been working on episode number 1, trying to get it on freaking YouTube.
And just so everybody knows about this too, Nick works like 99% of this. I just work the 1%, and I'm still always late to the podcast. So shout out to Nick.
Yeah.
I get the easy part.
Yeah, you kind of do. But that's okay, because think about it like this. Nobody would listen to this if it was just my voice. So
I'm the pizzazz.
that's just the truth. You can be the pizzazz. So
Yeah. Little razzle dazzle, you know.
yeah, okay. So episode number 2, it's awesome to be back. We are going to be, or not going to be, this episode is called Mondays Are Days Too. Yes, I think most people, when you hear that, you're thinking what we intend you to think. So that's what we're going to talk about. And we want you to stick around to the very end of the episode, because we're also going to cover 5 things you can do to help make your Mondays better. So of course you're going to want to stick around, and we're not going to go over an hour anyway. So you got this. So Audrey, before we kick this thing off, how have you been since the last time we did? When did we do this? Our first podcast? It was just a couple days ago.
What, Friday? Saturday?
It was Saturday.
Was it Saturday?
Yeah.
For me, it felt like
Saturday.
a whole week already.
Yeah, it's
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
They're always packed. Oh, it's Tuesday. I thought it was Wednesday.
It's Tuesday. Yep.
Thank God you said that, because I was about to wake up even earlier for work tomorrow. So, kudos to you for mentioning that.
Yeah,
No, I've
I
been real
appreciate it.
good. I mean, had a crazy amount of stuff happening, but just small everyday things. Weekend, Super Bowl.
Yeah, Super Bowl was a thing that happened on Sunday.
It's a pretty big thing. Who were you
Yes,
going
it
for?
was. Just wanted to see a good game.
I think it was
So-
a good game.
Good. I didn't even finish watching it.
Oh, so apparently it wasn't a good enough game for you then.
I just had other stuff to do. You know, I'm always keeping myself busy. I just
But did you see the opening to that?
no.
You didn't see the opening? Oh, I loved it.
Was it cool? They usually do something cool. Yeah, I probably missed out on some stuff, but I was just
It's pretty
tinkering,
touching.
doing my thing.
They celebrated all of Americans, I think.
That's pretty
So,
cool.
I like that.
I like. Well, look,
What about your week?
my
4 days.
week so far, yeah, my couple days have been good. Very busy. Work can be stressful, can be a little overwhelming at times, right? So I think that's worth sharing, because you know we all go through that, but it's good. I'm super, super thankful to have a job, right? Like Dad always said, I'd rather complain about the job I have than the one I don't.
Mhm.
But anyways, yeah, everything's good. So, man, shout out to all of our listeners, right?
And a special shout out to Courtney for making this podcast happen, for taking the kids tonight, or Noah.
Yes, she did take Noah to basketball practice, so we could do this tonight. And again, because the other day just wouldn't work for Audrey. So
I'm a busy person. I have plans, you know.
Yep. So
Sorry, guys.
we got to move things around. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. I'm really not that busy, guys. I just make it look like I'm busy.
But really, though, shout out to Courtney.
Yeah.
Courtney's awesome.
Otherwise, you guys would have had to wait a whole actual week to hear our voices again.
And who wants to do that? Courtney's not
Who
allowed to
wants
answer
to
that.
wait a whole week to hear us talk?
So yeah, that's what I was. That's my point. Is shout out to the listeners, Chris and
Alexa.
and Alyssa. That's why I said listeners. That's why I said it plural, because I knew there
I
was two.
love that, like, it is a plural number.
Right? It is. It makes you feel good. But shout out to you guys. You deserve a medal of some kind because you are now listening to episode number 2. So good luck to you on this journey. We want to talk about Mondays. Yep. And just the word, when you say Monday, that people are like, right? I know that feeling. And that's why we're going to talk about it, because we want to have some corrective perspective. So how do you, Audrey, how do you feel about Mondays? And let's be honest. Don't sugarcoat it.
In all honesty, I don't necessarily look at Mondays as a negative thing. I just look at it as I got a lot of stuff I got on my plate on Mondays, and I got to prioritize all of my tasks and my calls and things like that on Mondays. But I'm huge on memes, and I know there's a lot of funny memes that kind of come off negative, but they actually make me laugh about Mondays. I'm sure you've seen some. So I
I
don't
have.
know. Like, when I look at my Mondays, I'm just like, okay, that's the day that I have to get up. Well, the second day I have to get up the earliest for work, make sure I get all my calls in and prioritize. But I also kind of mentally prepare myself every Sunday, probably around 5 o'clock is when I start to mentally prepare myself for Mondays.
What do you do? What do you do to prepare for Monday? What is Audrey Stretch? Give us a glimpse, okay? Give us and our 2 listeners, give us a glimpse into how Audrey Stretch prepares mentally, because in my mind I'm envisioning you sitting with like some plants and maybe like a waterfall or something, and you're like meditating.
A Zen garden.
Is that what's happening, or is it just like a 6-pack of Coors Light and a couple candy bars? Like, break it down for us.
Well, it's definitely not the Coors Light. Who drinks that? Just kidding. I'm joking. No, just like mentally, because I mean, Sunday about like 5 or 6 is kind of when your Sundays are winding down, and I will just be hanging out with my boyfriend or something, and he'll be doing his thing, whether he's watching TV or on his phone, and I kind of become like a little bit reclusive, I guess. So I mean, it's not like I go and lock myself in a room and sit on a desk and write down all my tasks. It's something that I just have to like tell myself, like, okay, so your first meeting is at 7 a.m. So let's go ahead and wake up at least by 6:30. So that you can prepare for that meeting. So because we always have to take notes, and then prioritizing of like, okay, so this week my main focus, depending on where we're at in the month, I always have a big project that's always due. It comes up on the 15th of the month. It's a really big thing for the company, so I always have to get that done. So if I'm in the middle of the month, I know that, hey, I need to start preparing the document to get this rolling. Or if it's at the end of the month, I have another big project that releases to the entire company where I have to get certain documents in order that I release to the field. So it's just mentally preparing. Just figuring
Yeah.
out, okay, so what week is it? Okay, I got to do this week. Okay. But I don't look at it negatively or anything. It's not something hard. It just takes about 30 minutes.
And you're kind of preparing for the whole week,
Yeah, in a sense. Because
right?
for our company, that's what our Mondays are. We
Which makes
prepare, we
sense.
get everything together, and we figure out, we have shout outs that we do for the entire operational side, and we all discuss that, like, okay, shout outs are due by Thursday, everybody get them in by Thursday, and we all have a calendar thing. It's just kind of bringing the team together, figuring out what we need, and if we can't do it, hey, who's going to help me out with this?
That's pretty
So
cool.
yeah. Company is very supportive.
Pretty cool.
How
Yeah,
about you? What do you?
I'm well, I've done a lot of work in this area. on myself. And I hate when I say that because it's almost like I'm saying I don't have like still so much work to do, because I do, but I've done a lot of work on myself there, and in terms of corrective perspective on my Mondays. And honestly, I think if my wife Courtney were here right now, I think she would vouch for me on that. And there's a lot of things that I've done just to try to help make my Mondays not seem so terrible. But if I'm being honest, and I usually am on a good day, I'm being honest, but I didn't like Monday so much that I was allowing them to destroy part of or all of my Sundays. I mean, that's on the real.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't like I was doing it all the time, but it was enough to where it was like, okay, Sunday was bad. Like, imagine being, if you will, my children, or Courtney, and having to deal with, Mr. Sourpuss over, on Sunday because he's stressed out about work. Like, I don't know. I look back at it now and I'm like, goodness, that's like so lame, right? But like we talked about in that last episode, right? I was dealing with depression just next level. And I think that was just one of those layers that I was allowing to have control over me.
Mm-hmm.
Since then, so glad I've crawled out of that. So now, I really do I get to kind of dive into the week instead of get dragged into it by Monday. And for me, that's big. I mean, it's huge, right? Because now I'm looking at the week more from the perspective of a victor, if you will, and less of a victim.
I
So
like that.
I'm working on it. Like I said, very much a work in progress, but I'm working on it. And for the most part, I think I've come a long way. I don't feel like I used to about Mondays, but there are just so many people I think still today that are in that place, right? And it could be, we're saying Mondays, but it could be like, if your Monday is Wednesday, right? It doesn't matter, right? So we're not talking about the
Yeah.
actual particular day in the week. You have your Monday. And if you're the type of person that struggles with that, we're just hoping to provide some encouragement for you. Maybe you don't struggle with it, but somebody that does, who knows? But anyways, that's how we feel about Mondays in general. I'm getting better at it. So
Progress.
slow progress is better than no progress, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's right. That's right. So I've got a question.
Bring it on.
I'm moving down our list here. If you're paying attention to our Google sheet.
I am.
Okay.
I am looking at it.
All right. Well, I'm looking at number 4 there, and I'm gonna throw this one out there, and you take a swing at it. Why do we, as people, tend to throw our Monday in the garbage before ever giving it a chance, Audrey? Why?
Oh, I mean, that can vary for like so many different people, but I think one of the biggest ones is maybe somebody doesn't really like their job, because
Ooh, nailed it.
I have had some positions in the past. I won't name those positions or talk about those companies, but um, where I have dreaded coming back from having 1 day off or 2 days off, whatever it was, coming back to work because I didn't like the environment that I was in. Whether it could have been the team, which is sad to say, or two, it could have just been the workload that I didn't want to deal with.
No,
So
yeah,
I
I think
think the
that's a good
biggest
one.
one. And maybe that's why I enjoy my Mondays now, because I love what I do, you know?
Amen.
So that was kind of a
That's,
realization for me right now.
yeah, look
If
at
my boss
that.
ever listens, I love my job.
Corrective perspective right there in action. Hashtag corrective perspective. It's a thing.
Hashtag.
No, I think that's a big one. But I also think too that let's talk to that person just for a second that is in that place that, they fall into that category, if you will, the one you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it's still, I think, important that if you are that person, and let's say you're doing something that you don't love and you don't enjoy, but you're doing it because it's paying the bills, so on and so forth. I think it's okay to continue to do that as long as you're being intentional about finding something else. If
Yes.
you're not, if you're going through that and you're you just hate it, right? If you stay there, well then, I'm of the opinion, well, that's on you. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you tell me, right? What's more important? Again, talking to to you, the person that is in that boat, right? You don't, not even that you don't love what you do. Let's just say you hate it, right? If you're not doing anything or putting any effort into doing something that you love, um, well, then it's at some point that just becomes self-inflicted. At least figure out, what you can do, what time can you carve out to try to get you to something else. And maybe it's as simple as just putting in some applications elsewhere, right? Or trying to find something different.
Yeah.
But I will tell you this, there's a lot of people out there that probably wouldn't be willing to get paid less, or would have too much pride to take a position that's less, in terms of authority or, level of status. Right. And I know this because I know these people, and I've been that person. Right. But
Yeah.
if you really can look at it and go, man, I really hate what I do, and it's like the source of my depression, and like this is why I hate Mondays, and it's so much it ruins my Sundays. If that's you, then you've got to take that first step in trying to find what it is that's going to work for you. What is it that you are going to enjoy? And sometimes that means facing the reality that you're not going to be a multimillionaire, right? How
Yeah.
many of us
100%.
just keep those yeah, like, just it's crazy. You keep these dreams, you hold on to these dreams of just, a lot of them are just so unrealistic, right? And you're just like, I just want, a few $1,000,000 and I can be fine. And it's actually, you could be fantastic with a whole lot less, especially if you're doing what you love. So, trying to, sometimes you have to think about it that way too. What is it that you really value in life, right? I think we naturally go, well, I value money because money will give me anything. Money will give me more time. Money will give me more freedom, right?
Yeah.
But if your quality of life is crap, right, money's not going to change that. But what I mean by that is, the kind of relationships you have, and with your family, with your friends, all of that. If that's not healthy now, money's just going to brighten however it already is, right? It's not going to fix anything, right? I think a lot of people
Yeah.
think, well, when I get money, I'm going to be a better person, or I'm not going to be so angry all the time, or, and that's just not the case. So
It's not.
anyways, I'm kind of getting into the weeds on that, but
But it's true, you know? And for, like, people, I mean, I see it all the time, like, on social media. When I say social media, guys, I say Instagram because that's the only thing that I'm really on. So follow
IG.
me Instagram, hashtag. Um, is like, you always see videos, and there's a girl that I actually follow, and I think she's very, I can't say her name because it's just, like, letters, but I think she's actually an inspiring person for just the regular people. She's not some, like, multi-million-dollar person or anything like that, like, she's just average, and that's what I like about her. But she actually posted something today, and she was saying, like, "If you don't like your job, then you need to get out of it, and you need to do something about it." So when you brought that up just now, it's 100%, like, if you don't love your job, yes, get out of it, but you have to take the right steps to get out of that position. It's not something where, like, I think a lot of people misconstrue that message where, "Oh, if you don't like it, then you need to do something and change about it," and then I think people automatically assume, like, "Okay, I'm just gonna quit and go do something else."
Yeah, that's
For
a little drastic, I think.
Yeah, and I think
Well,
that's what a
and
lot
you're
of
kind of
people
setting
think.
yourself up for failure when you do that, right? You're
Yeah,
really not setting yourself up for success, which kind of really, to me, tells me you really genuinely don't care that much about being successful or reaching your goals or doing
mhm,
what you love. You care more about avoiding hard work altogether,
Yes.
right? That does that sound like a little mean, but you get my point.
Yeah, and the reason why I say that was because there were a few comments where they said like, "Well, I can't just quit my job," and I'm like, that's not the message that's being conveyed, like, corrective
But that's
perspective here. Um,
exactly.
that's not the message she was trying to tell you. You have to take the right steps. And for people
That's a
who
victim mentality. That's what that is.
yeah, and, like, for people who don't maybe they don't know what it is that they're gonna love doing for work. I mean, I was in the same boat, I mean, you saw where I came from and my 2 previous positions. I took a chance. Like, it was a huge chance that I took, and it was a complete lateral move for me. It wasn't something of a promotion or anything like that. Um, it was a lateral move, and I went with it, and I fell in love with that position. And I didn't think I can love a position more than what I have now, but I was offered this one, and now I'm like, "Oh my god, I love this position now," you know?
Yep, which is
So
awesome.
I'm someone who's always like, look out for the signs that the universe or God, whoever you believe in, look out for those signs in life.
Absolutely.
And 100% when I was offered, when the previous position came up, I mean, I jumped on that. I was scared to death because I didn't know what it was going to hold in store for me in the future. But I took that leap of faith.
Yeah.
And at the time, I didn't know what was going to make me happy. So that was
But
my
you
whole thing.
but you said something there um that it's super key and important. And that is you mentioned basically you're going to find what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Um, if you're here's a reality that I think some and I can say this because I've been there. Right, I could say this to myself. Um, when you're walking around life constantly looking for the negative and looking for the bad and looking for the fault in people, even yourself, I mean, if that's how you're living your life, then you're going to find all those things.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, if you're looking,
Because you're
uh,
attracting it to you.
exactly right. You're, the law of attraction. If you're
Mhm.
walking through life, looking down in front of you, the only things you're going to see and find are the things that you would see on the ground. If you're walking through life with your head up, chin up, and you're looking around, then you're going to be able to see so much more. And
Yeah.
if that's just how it works, and there's so many people, and my heart breaks for some people that are just, that are living life like that, or maybe they're just in a season of, life where they're allowing that to just kind of take control. Man, it's that's to me, that's when people say, man, you got a case of the Mondays, right? That's the guy or gal that's just so focused on the negative and so focused on the things that they can't control that
Yeah.
it's hard to break through that shell,
I'll tell you
shake them
guys
a
what,
little.
a lot of people don't like hanging around negative people. Like, that affects your personal life in a much bigger way when people are constantly negative.
Oh, I mean, it's terrible, right? But then again, right? If it's that person with the victim mentality, it's just so easy for them to, well, you hurt my feelings, right?
Yeah.
Again, I'm the victim, right? And you hurt my feelings, and it's hard to have a conversation with somebody that's in that place, But the best thing you can do, for in my opinion, is really just do the best you can to be kind. Remind them that you're there for them and you love them, and hopefully they get through that, or you can help them get through that, and kind of look back and go, man, I had that all wrong. So that's what happened with
Yeah.
me, and will probably happen again, right? In some situation, I'm sure, but anyway, the I had another question on here. Ooh, why do we live in tomorrow instead of today? Um,
That's
I
a good
tend,
question.
yeah, I'll lead off on that one. I tend to, naturally, I do that, and I see it in my kids. I've done it since I was a kid. We always, I think, most of us do this, right? Where it's kind of like I can allow myself to be a certain level of happy today based on what I have going on tomorrow or the day after. And I think that's why Fridays are always so awesome, because it's almost like,
Yeah.
well, I'm off for the next 2 days, right? So it's like I have the I'm off for the next 2 days level of freedom and happiness flowing through my body now. Like that's because it's Friday. It's weird, right? Like saying it out loud is crazy, but this is the stuff like in my head. If I'm going on vacation, right?
Mm,
Oftentimes the highest high that I have from that vacation is like the first day or like the first night, like wow. And a lot of times it's because I'm telling myself, man, I have 5 more days of this. Ow, I just hit my elbow. But
funny bone.
you know what I mean? Yeah, like you just get excited about where you're at right now, because okay, I don't have to think about work for the next 5, right? But you're painting all those pictures, all of that you're painting mentally in your head. None of that's actually real. We're not even promised the next 5 or 6 days. We're not even promised tomorrow,
Hmm.
right? But it's weird because we like start painting all this out in our head, and that's the opposite is true on Mondays, right? For those of us that tend to live in tomorrow, it's gonna freaking wreak havoc on your Sunday because you're bummed. You're not allowing yourself to really have a good time. Like, hey, I can have a good time, but it's almost like for me, I've got to carve out a couple hours before to wind down and really mentally prepare. And I think it's good, like you put it, mentally preparing, like you're tackling the week as in I'm the victor. I'm in control. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to kick ass this week. But I know
You can't
oftentimes for
let it.
me, it wasn't
You
the
can't let it
case.
consume you.
Right.
That's the
And that's what
balance.
it did. That's what it did to me. And that's, man, it like eats away at you when you do that. When you live in tomorrow, it's just really you miss out on so much, right?
You do.
Miss out on so much. And when you do that, when we do like we talked about, where we're just freaking, man, Monday's crap, we're just setting ourselves up for failure. We're not telling ourselves we're going to win. We're telling ourselves Monday's going to suck. So
It's funny because sorry, like random scroll of thought. But my friend, shout out to Jenna, she actually taught me this trick that I'm sure I've sold it to so many other people, but I swear it works. When we would go out, whether like say it was a Sunday night and I had work early on Monday, I would
mhm.
always say like, okay, I can't stay out late because I have meetings starting at 7 a.m. Like I have to be ready to go at 6 a.m. And so when we would go out, she would always catch me looking at my watch or my phone to check the time. And when I was checking the time, I was thinking in my head, like, okay, I'm only going to get 6 hours of sleep. And then I check in an hour. Okay, now I'm only going to get 5 hours. And so
Oh gosh.
she noticed that I always did this. And so one time we went out and she told me, she goes, don't look at your phone and don't look at your watch. And she goes, if you don't look at the time, you're not counting down how many hours of sleep you have and you don't actually know. She was like, it's all a mental state. She's like, don't do it. So I actually tried it that night. I shut my phone off. I didn't wear my watch, nothing. And I swear it was the best 4 hours of sleep I ever had waking up on a Monday at 6 a.m. And it wasn't until later on in the day she told me, she goes, yeah, we didn't get home until like 2 a.m. And I was like, what are you talking about? And I go, I got plenty of
Wow.
sleep. She goes, I told you it was all a mental state. But I feel like that kind of combines with it because I was constantly looking at the time. I wasn't focused on having fun in the moment. I was focusing on, oh my God, I'm not going to get enough sleep for the next day. I'm not going to do this. I mean, I'm not saying don't ever check the time, guys. That's not what I'm saying.
But
But
for you,
what
you
I,
were obsessed with it. So you had
yeah,
to
I had to.
disconnect.
Hmm.
You had to disconnect at that level. No, that makes sense. And here's a here's another thing to consider, especially again if you're the type of person that really does dread Monday, right? Even if you hate what you do, right? I want to offer some perspective, possibly corrective perspective to you.
Corrective perspective.
And I want you to consider this question. Think about what you do for a living and consider if you had to complain to somebody that would kill to do what you do for a living, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you had to complain to them about it, if you had to tell them how bad your job is, but you knew this person would kill to have your job, to do what you do, your person would be so excited about your Sunday night, that they wouldn't be able to go to sleep for you, and you're not sleeping because you're stressed out because you hate it, right? But just think about that. If you had to have that conversation with that individual, would you be able to? Would you be able to paint it out to be as bad as you paint it out for yourself to somebody that you know would actually kill to have that position? And I don't care what you do for a living, you can find somebody else on the planet that's dealing with the hell of a lot worse.
Mm-hmm. Believe that.
I mean, so you got to keep that in mind, right? That's just, to me, I have to have that conversation with myself from time to time. If I start to feel like I'm getting overwhelmed, or I'm getting just stressed out to that point where I feel like, man, you know what, is this worth it? I bet I could get something else or do something better, or it just, you've got to be realistic with yourself sometimes. And sometimes, for me, if I'm being honest, I'm just acting like a spoiled brat. I've got it too easy,
I consider myself sometimes to be like negative Nancy.
Yeah, I hate when I get like that, but I do it,
It's something that kind of comes up where like, and what causes me to be a negative Nancy is when I don't fully know how to execute something. Then I get really frustrated with myself because I'm like, I kind of like talk down about myself in my own head where I think like, oh my God, Audrey, you're so stupid. How come you can't figure this out or something? But I kind of always have a reminder of that, where that somebody else would kill to have my job, because I have so many um, colleagues, team members in the field, in the position that I used to do, constantly reaching out to me saying like, Audrey, how do we get your position? I want to be on your team. I want to work with you. I want to. When they tell me that, I mean, obviously, I'm like, we just got to wait till a position opens up and you can apply for it. But when they tell me that, it kind of resets me, where I think like, oh my gosh, Audrey, you need to stop being so negative about this and stop stressing out and look at it in a positive way, that you have this project to work on, because I could be
Yes.
doing something else that I don't want to do, 100% don't want to do.
Yes, love it. Corrective perspective. That's super
Mhm.
helpful for me. I appreciate you sharing that. That's good. It's good for me because that same thing kind of happens in my world too. So I just immediately thought, man, this is probably happening for a lot of people. Like, it's easy for us to feel isolated, like we're on our own little island. And then
Yeah.
someone comes along and says something like that, and you're like, holy crap, like, I'm not alone on this island. And it's a lot bigger than I thought. There's a lot of people here.
And it's not just like one hurdle that you can just change your mindset one day and think, "Oh, okay, everything's perfect. I'm not going to hate my job. I'm going to love it." It's a continuous battle sometimes, cuz some projects are more stressful than others, and it's a reset. Just to
Mm-hmm.
reset your mentality.
Yeah. What was this other thing I have on the doc here? If you're one of the people that dread your Monday, is the Sunday version of you better than the Monday after work version of you? Kind of, I think, touched on that a little bit, but yeah, that's an interesting one, right?
Well, I
The
guess if
reason
you hate your I guess if you hate your Monday, should be more like, is the Sunday before 4 o'clock version of you better than your Monday after work version of you?
that's my point, is if the answer to that is yes, right, the version of me after work Monday is a better version of me than the pre-work Sunday version of me,
Mhm.
right? Because I'm bummed and I'm stressed and I'm, hey, tomorrow's Monday, I'm down, right? But if I'm better, the version of me is better after that Monday of work, then why am I not then looking forward to that on Sunday instead. Right. We do it every week. You know, I feel better after I've finished a day, any day of work, but especially Monday, because I'm like, all right, that was, you know, I set the tone for the week in that day, and
Yep.
I feel like I accomplished something. And Monday I got it done, right? Got the first day of the week out. You know, I'm ready for the next one. And for me, you know, it's one of the things that I try to focus on more on Sundays now is I'm not going to focus on the weight, you know, that I artificially place on my shoulders on Monday. I'm not going to focus on that. I'm going to focus on the win that I know I'm going to have, because I know I'm going to get through that, whatever happens, right? And I'm going to come out victorious. So
Yeah. Mondays are a big day, a big hurdle to get over. It's like take on the challenge.
challenge accepted, right? Challenge
Challenge
accepted. That's
accepted.
whatever happened to that. Now it's like challenge avoided.
Challenge what challenge?
Yeah. Challenge avoided. Yeah, that's we don't want that for y'all, right? If you're listening, we
Yeah.
want you to be victorious. We want you to win at Monday and every day. So we are
It's
going to
so
talk about.
funny.
Go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say it's so funny because does your company use Monday.com?
No.
Oh, so our company we use it's a software called Monday.com, and it's like a whole company wide for our operational team. And
Yeah, I've
I
heard about
love
it.
that it's called Monday.com because it sums it up and it just lists our to do list, and you can check it off. You can write notes of like everything. So that's why I thought it was funny because we're talking about Monday, and that's the perfect name for that website, Monday.com.
Yeah. Yeah. And Audrey had a lot of time to think about it, because I put all this stuff in the document that we're supposed to be both putting, you know, stuff in. But she read it. She was ready and prepared for the podcast, right?
I read it, but guys, also the reason why I did not contribute to this list was because I worked all throughout the day without taking lunch. So I scarfed down some salmon and I'm drinking a Bang energy drink right now. So
Bang
I feel like
bang.
I'm talking really fast, but I'm trying to slow it down because this energy drink has kicked in.
Yeah.
So am I talking really
No,
fast?
that was fast. Yes.
I'll be going to the gym afterwards, which is why I'm drinking it because I did not go this morning, guys. Because it was
Yeah. Well,
Monday.
shame. Yeah. It's Tuesday. It's
It's
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
It's Tuesday right now.
But I
So
thought it was a Wednesday. Dang.
I want to move on, because I know we're trying to keep this thing under an hour. Actually, Courtney was just texting me, and she was like, "They're gonna play a 15-minute scrimmage." I'm like, "Sweet, no problem." Gives us little bit more time. So I I don't know if I even promised this at the beginning. Did I promise this at the beginning that we were going to give our listeners, Chris and Alyssa, 5 things you can do to make your Mondays better,
Yes, you
right?
did. And the suspense is killing them.
So it is time for us to go over that, and we're going to talk about 5 things you can do to make your Mondays better. Audrey, I'm going to let you take the first one.
Here we go. Can I get a drum roll?
Let me do it on the desk here.
There we go. Number 1. Getting really into it. Okay. Perform a small act of kindness Monday morning and make someone else's day a little bit better. Make someone
I like
smile,
it.
guys.
I like that.
That's the business I'm in. I make people smile. And that's why I love my job.
No, I really like that first one.
I love that first one.
I try to do that, and not just on Mondays, like any day that I'm just
No,
like
yeah.
really in that weird headspace where you're like, I'm like feeling sorry for myself. I'm like, you know what? You know who probably would appreciate a quick little pick me up, maybe a message of encouragement. Hey guys, have a great day. You know, or maybe just a funny meme to a friend just to let them know you're thinking of them.
Yeah.
Those, you know, we say small act of kindness. That's what that is. I mean, it's so small, so
Can,
tiny.
can I share one small story? I feel like I tell a lot of stories, but I want to share
You
this
have
one.
plenty of time to share a story. I'll give you 2.5
Sweet.
minutes.
3 hours later. Okay, so for our company, we have something called Champions. So instead of champions, it's called Champions because we deal with teeth, you know. Um,
I
and it's
like it.
pretty much like a Facebook, but only for work. And it's just about recognizing people who have helped you or impacted you, or someone who goes along the lines of our values, right?
So it's
Our core
all
values.
positive. Only
It's
positivity allowed is what it sounds like.
yes.
I like it.
Someone can help you out with a small thing and you send a recognition. You're like, hey, I just want to shout this person out because you helped me do X, Y, and Z. So this was a while back, and it was when I was actually transitioning into a field project specialist role, and I was leaving my district and everything, and I was unfortunately no longer going to have one of my bestest friends, Roxanne. Shout out Roxanne. She knows I'm doing this podcast for her or right
Roxanne.
now. And I was leaving. So before I left, I was going to Nashville into our headquarters, and they have these big screens, and they'll have the champion boards, like who's number one recognized and who's number one who recognized other people. So I knew I was going to HQ. So I sent out a mass text to everybody in our district, and I said, hey guys, I'm in
Headquarters.
HQ, headquarters. Dun dun dun. And I knew Roxanne was going to be in headquarters the following day after I arrived. So I sent out a mass text and I said, everybody celebrate Roxanne because I want to see her name up on this board when she gets to HQ. So
Right
we
on.
all celebrated, right? She had no idea we were doing this. I think she had maybe like 50 plus recognitions, which is a pretty big achievement, guys, with the fact that it was only like 4 days into the month. So
Yeah,
she got
that's
to
impressive.
HQ, right? She saw that and it was great. And then like a few weeks had went by and she called me up and she just told me, she was like, I just want to, I found out what you did. And I just wanted to really say thank you because at that time she was going through something pretty major in her life. And it kind of happened like that day that I had sent out that text to everybody. And I won't say Roxanne cried. I'll say that she always says Chanel number 5 came out of her eyes because she's a very fancy woman. So she had some Chanel 5 coming out of her eyes, um, just because she was going through something, pretty major in her life. And just to hear small thank yous or how she impacted other people, it really meant a lot to her. So
Yeah,
that's what I'm
that's
saying. Like
cool.
something so small of me just sending out a text of that and then everybody else contributing, it
Yeah, that's pretty rock star
it's a big
status of
deal.
you.
I mean, it wasn't me, it
Yeah.
was everybody else. I just had the idea, that was all. Everybody else executed it.
Yeah, but it's pretty cool that you were able to, that you work with people that you were able to be like, hey, let's do this. Because you wouldn't have brought it up if you thought everyone was going to be like, nah, right? Like you
Yeah.
wouldn't have. You obviously work in an environment that's, I guess the word would be that fosters that type of, love and appreciation, and people are like, yes, I want that, like that's cool, because in some workplaces, if someone was like, hey, we're going to do this, we're just going to show love to this person and just celebrate them, so you're like, screw you, I'm not celebrating anybody, I'm here to make my money and go home. so
Oh,
some
I hate when
so yeah,
people say
kudos
that.
kudos to you and to your place of employment, because it sounds like they're doing something right over there. So honestly, they got you, so yeah, they are doing something
Woot
right in my
woot.
opinion.
Yeah,
But
don't fire me.
that was that was number one of five, right? We promised you four things. So number one more time, was perform a small act of kindness Monday morning and make somebody else's day a little bit better. Number two, this is one that's big for me. That this was probably one that was probably one of the biggest game changers for me. I'm not saying it's going to be like that for everybody, but this was a big one for me. And that is wake up earlier and own the first hour of your week. So what I mean by that is, some people I think hear that and they're like, why would I want to get up any earlier? I already have to get, and we're going to talk a little bit about that, but you've got to start thinking about how much work you're putting into your own happiness, right?
Hmm.
Even throughout your work week. Like, so many of us will just put ourselves on the shelf for the week, right? Like, I'll pick myself back up on Friday. You can't do that, right? Because then you're mistreating yourself is really what you're doing, right? You wouldn't do that with a dog. You wouldn't do that with, well, of course not with a child, but you get my point, right?
I would hope not. Yeah.
You don't put them away Monday morning and pick them up again on Friday, but we do that with ourselves, right? So many of us are doing that with ourselves. And so that's why I say wake up earlier, go through that, that pain, whatever it is that you've got to, it's really so short lived, right? Waking up early, the pain of waking up early is so short lived. But wake up earlier, give yourself that first hour. And I would say if you're willing to try this, try it for at least your Mondays, right? At least your Mondays. But I will tell you that I do this for every one of my days. I get up early on Saturday and I get up early on Sunday for the same reason. I want that first hour. It's got to be my hour, right? And a lot of times it's me and my wife sitting, drinking coffee in the morning for an hour, chatting or, looking at our phone, social media, whatever. But it's just the first hour is ours. So I'm not waking up a slave to my alarm clock. I'm waking up in control, right? And ready to, tackle the day. So that's a big one, waking up early and owning the first hour of your week. Anything you want to add to that?
I'm gonna say challenge accepted because I'm the person who picks myself back up typically on like Tuesday. um, and I think I kind of generally just wake up early now, but my early is probably like 6 a.m. I would prefer more to wake up at 5 a.m. Because like when I go to the gym, if I go to the gym in the morning, it's kind of sporadic. It's not a consistent thing. Like today, I did not wake up early enough to go to the gym. So I'm gonna go to the gym after this. But challenge accepted to that. My
I
biggest
like
my biggest distraction, I would say, is on Mondays. If I stay the night at my boyfriend's house,
Yeah.
I will try and sleep in, and then I feel bad because I got a 7 a.m. call and he's sleeping, but I don't wanna wake him up with the call, and so I tend to just say, like, "Okay, I'll just wake up at 6:30 and not wake up at 6 a.m. and bug him," kind of a thing.
Right. No, I get
So,
that. I get
but
that.
challenge accepted on that. We'll circle back around on our next week's call, and I'll let you know how
Yeah.
I did.
I'm sure one of our listeners, Lissa, Chris, are going to be able to call out at some point, right? They're going to be able to bring that up and we're going to be asking you about it. We're going to say, "Hey, yeah, whatever happened with that? Are you doing that? And is it helping?"
Yeah.
That'll be cool. I'm moving on to number 3. So just quick recap, right? Number 1, small act of kindness. Number 2, get up an hour earlier, own that first hour of your week. And then I said, try it, doing it every day, actually, because it's life changing. Number 3, you want to take this one, Audrey?
Let's see. Number 3, don't overbook your Monday if you can avoid it. Knock out what you need to know on your Friday to soften the load on your Mondays.
Boom. How do you soften
Like
that?
it.
I do it. I do it on Fridays, right? I tend to grind most Fridays, even though I know I'm burnt out, right? I just, what do they call it? Like that second wind, like I'll just crank, like I'll just get it, like I'll turn it up and I'm just like, okay, I got to get everything I can done. And, if I can knock something out on a Friday that would have landed on my Monday, I'm going for it. I usually am just, and I think that part of that is I'm taking motivation from the excitement of the weekend too, right? Kind of turning that into
Because
work.
then that way you're not stressing on Sunday to worry about Monday now.
Yeah, like I know the feeling, right? I'm doing it because I know I'm gonna feel better, right? And but you got to figure that out. You know what I mean? You've got to, I think, be able to. I had to learn that, right? I think I've been told that a number of times, but I had to actually learn it and understand it. Like, okay, like I had to actually understand what it's like to care more about myself, to be willing to put effort in on Friday that's going to benefit me on a Monday. Like that's, if you think about it, that's kind of like an adult thing to do, right? I'm adulting, right? If dad ever listens to this, yeah, dad, #adulting. You did a good job, at least with me, right? I came out okay. Audrey,
I'm like a 60-40.
She's
I'll
totally
say 70-30.
I'm totally kidding. We all came out fantastic. So
yes. Shout out to dad and mom.
Amen to that. So anything else for number 3? Just, I mean, that's pretty pretty straight up, right? Don't overbook that Monday if you can.
Yeah, I think I'm a little bit different from you. I think, but see, we're in different lines of work, so that, take that into fact. But I actually work harder on my Thursdays so that my Fridays are a little bit lighter from my workload. But I love reaching out to other people on our team because I know that there's a colleague of mine that we collaborate a lot together, and this girl is a genius, and she works so much. So I try to finish all of my tasks Thursday night, so that on Friday I can actually help her more, so that she can enjoy her weekend. Because that girl works probably like 7 days a week, and like I said, she is a genius. She is smarter than a calculator. This girl.
Dang, that's
Yeah,
pretty smart.
and I love collaborating with her because I just want to understand her brain. So shout out to SC.
Noise. Shout out.
Noise.
Number 4.
Want me to read it? No, you read it. We're going to go on and off. You read.
Change your self-talk when you're thinking about Monday. Big one for me. That was a big one for me. Still a big one for me. Not just when I'm talking about Mondays, just period. Anybody that knows me, right? Which I know that all of our listeners right now, both of you know me well. Okay. There is a thing called confidence, right? Self-confidence, self-esteem. I
Mm-hmm.
struggle there.
Self-love.
I struggle with my self-talk, right? And it's something I've got to work on, and I understand that. And so that's one of the things I've worked on specifically for my Mondays, though. My self-talk regarding Mondays. Stop talking about Monday as if it's going to be a big turd, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't know that. You do not know that it's going to be a big turd. Don't tell yourself how crappy Monday is on Saturday or Sunday. I think just change your self-talk. Stop yourself. When you start talking to yourself about, oh man, I got to go to work on Monday, right? Or this would be cool, right? If there's like a couple that listens to this podcast, maybe they can apply it, kind of use it as a form of accountability for each other. But if you're a couple and you listen to this and your significant other is verbally saying how much they hate Monday and how much they're going to dread Monday, bring up this podcast. Remind them, hey, your self-talk, you got to change that, right?
What's your oh, sorry guys. So, that is my
She's
work.
so popular. So popular. Notice my phone
I'm
hasn't
really not.
rang or dinged one time.
It's a spam, No, I'm kidding. That's whoever calls me.
So self-talk.
No, I like that. Yes. Because I have actually caught myself, like I said, referring back to that book, The Secret. I've caught myself in negative thoughts where I have mid-thought stopped and said, Audrey, like out loud. I've literally said this in public, so I'm sure people were looking at me. And I said, Audrey, stop thinking that. Think of the complete opposite. And that's literally what I have to do whenever I get a negative thought. So I feel like if you start to think about it like that, just stop yourself and say, stop speaking like that.
And you have to be intentional about that. You have to be thinking like that, right? Like you have to be on the lookout for that stuff to have those conversations with yourself, right? You don't just have them naturally. It's almost like you got to teach yourself, train yourself a little bit too, right?
Yeah.
So,
okay. I'm going to move on to number 5.
All right. Okay. What do we got?
It says if you've got a commute into your place of work, make the most out of it. I love this because when I used to drive to work, oh my God, to pump myself up in the morning, I was always playing me some Nicki Minaj. Anybody who knows me, okay? I was always playing my songs that got me pumped and ready for the day. And if I was stressed out, if I knew I was going to be stressed out from all the calls or whatever, kind of things that were going to be thrown at me that day, I listened. So my thing is classical piano music, listen to that, and it helped me just ease my nerves and it prepared me for the day. So I 100% love that.
Yeah, I do too. I like this one a lot because I mentioned earlier, if you're the person that's not liking what you do or hating what you do, if you're that person, I think that this one you could actually be listening to something like a podcast
Yeah.
or an audio book, something that's helping you change your perspective, something that's helping you work toward a different career path, or helping you work towards your dreams of being an entrepreneur, or something that's helping you work toward just changing your mindset, right? There's so many things we can be consuming at any time of the day. And if you've got to commute to work and to and from, your place of work, I mean, I want to absolutely encourage you to change, figure out how to invest into you for that 1 hour, 30-minute drive or whatever that you've got to and from work every day, and watch what happens, because it will help change the way you see things, change the way you do things. So that's a big one for me.
Especially if you're sitting in traffic. Because if you think about it, don't people do that on the way home from work? When you're on your
Like,
way home, you're excited and you're making the most out of the drive getting home because you just want to get home. So why not do the
right.
opposite when you're going to work?
Yeah. And it does really help to put your head in the right space too. Just listening to, like I said, listening to a podcast or listening to
You mean the Stretch It Out podcast?
yeah, you could even listen to this podcast, but just listening to some other people's perspective, listening to, books that, that are written by authors that have been through things that maybe you haven't been through, and written by people that could really provide you the next level kind of encouragement and perspective to help you just put yourself in the right place mentally. I mean, it just does so much for you. And so that's a big one. So that's the 5 things. So we gave you 5 things you could do to help make Mondays better. And honestly, you could go on Google and search things to make Mondays better, and you probably find like 1,000 things. But we wanted to go with those 5. Perform a small act of kindness, wake up an hour earlier, don't overbook your Mondays, change your self-talk, make it positive when you're talking to yourself about Mondays, and make that commute an investment into you, right? That's the 5. Boom, as promised.
That's our
Delivered.
5.
So now that we've gotten all the business stuff out of the way, Audrey, you owe somebody some, I don't know, I can't say cash money, because you promised, I think it was $10 Starbucks gift cards or something.
Yeah,
Was it
which
Starbucks?
I mean, yeah,
Hard for you
might
to
be
recall,
good.
isn't it? Because you haven't listened to the podcast, so you probably don't even remember. So I could actually say you owe somebody $100 and you wouldn't really know if you mentioned it. Good call.
I have not listened to our podcast because I'm not gonna lie, guys. This is me being what's
A
the word I'm
weenie.
looking for, Nick? A weenie,
Yeah,
and
a big weenie.
self-conscious is that I hate my voice, and I always feel bad for. I think I apologize to like people who I just meet too. I always tell them like, "Oh, I'm sorry I had to listen to my nasally voice. This is just how it is." So I'm actually terrified to listen to our
It's not even
podcast.
nasally. Your voice isn't
and
even nasally.
it's not nasally at all?
Oh
Really?
my God. Have you ever listened to me sing? Look, I recorded myself and actually put myself out there to like my friends and like said, "Hey, look, I'm singing." And now you wonder why I have no friends. It's
I
not
think
that bad, is all I'm trying to tell you.
I think you, me, and Alessa, all of us actually can hit like the same notes musically because I feel like we sing the same.
Yeah, no, we probably do. We all
Uh,
have the exact same
you're right.
voice. But lucky for me, sorry. Uh the you guys, if you ever sing, people are gonna go, "Yeah, you sound just like Broken Melody." So there you go.
Yeah,
I set
there
that
we
up
go.
for you. Sorry, I just knocked myself in the face with my little pop screen. Yeah, I set that up for you. So you're welcome.
So,
Uh,
okay, now that Nick has called me out, I have
yeah,
not
because
listened to our
technically, if you listen
podcast.
to the podcast, you owe him. We're just gonna have to have Chris come on the show because he's gonna have to break this down.
Chris,
But I know for sure you owe him at least 2 gift cards
so
because
I
he got the
actually have
secret word
him. He did get the
and he
secret
was
word.
the first.
Alyssa, Alyssa actually got the secret word too, but Chris was the first one to DM me on Instagram.
Oh,
And I
snap.
I
So
wish I can show you what he
Chris got
said, but
early access.
he put
Seriously, Chris got
r
the podcast before the family did. That's messed up,
he
isn't it?
said
Not you, Chris.
rainbow and, like, 15 exclamation points. He said, "Y'all were great, keep it up," but I'm pretty sure what he meant to say was, "Rainbow, give me my dang money."
Yeah, no, he did say we were great. He actually told me that when he saw me. He said, that was awesome. Like he said, didn't say it was awesome. He said something like, hey, it was really, really good podcast, right? Which is high praise for a first podcast coming from Chris, because Chris is an honest guy. He would tell us if it was not good.
Thank you,
So
Chris Phillips.
so you can pay him however you want to do, like Venmo probably, or do you send him an actual card? I would say since it's our first winner,
I think I should
on our
send him an
first
actual
podcast.
card.
Yeah, I think it needs to be the full blown, like you send it to him, and then I'll get a picture of him and I'll put it up on maybe like one of our YouTube videos. Put it up on the Facebook or something. I'll share it on our Instagram and stuff. So tell everybody that he won that on listening to the very first episode, number 1 of the Stretch It Out podcast. Right?
I like that. Oh, I'm so
Okay.
good at
So
writing
now
too. I'm gonna write an amazing card.
okay, well you better pay up. Like if
I
he opens
know.
up that card and there ain't gift cards pouring out then I don't know. It's not
It's
going to be
kind
good.
of funny because, like, right now, I guess you can say that we pay 50% of our listeners to listen to this podcast,
At
you
this
know?
point, yeah. Yeah, it's like paying to have friends. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with
So shout
but
out
it's
to you,
cool.
Chris. I'll send you
Yeah,
a
big
card.
shout out.
DM me your address so that I can get that over to you. It'll just take about a month because I'm always late, but you'll get it eventually.
Yeah. Yeah, but the thing is, see, we got this podcast new episode every week, right? So we'll be holding her accountable. That's for sure.
True. I'll be going to get it
So
tomorrow.
so check this out. I know we're past our hour, but I've got something that I've just been dying to talk about. And it's not related really to anything we've talked about. But since we're on the other side of the first hour, I figure we can just talk about whatever, right? So this is for the folks that are sticking around beyond the first hour, and this
This
is
is like
super
the
cool.
ending credits.
Yeah, well, check this out. So I know that I have on our list of our last thing to talk about is if you want to be a guest on our show, right?
Yes.
Yes, and we want to have. We're using it's a really simple setup that we have. We're using Zencaster and real easy to get guests on. Just we're using voice over internet protocol VoIP, right? So it's pretty simple. And if you do want to be a guest on the show, it's real simple. You just gonna DM Audrey on Instagram, okay?
Yes.
Yeah, if you want to reach us really in any way, shape, or form, just DM Audrey. And then I don't have to answer anything on social media. It'll just all go to Audrey. Well, I'm going to try to make this quick because my wife just got home with Noah. So super cool story. So I listened to a podcast called the No Name RC podcast, right? And the host of that show is Keenan White. He's they call him Lefty the Great. He's got a pretty cool story. He's got a co-host is JQ or Joseph Quagreen. I think I'm saying it correctly, or Quagreen, something like that. JQ, Joey Q is what they call him now because he's living out there in SoCal, which is where me and Audrey are from, and we're kind of getting snowflakey out there. That's the joke anyway. But anyway, so great podcast. I love it. Shameless plug for one of my favorite hobbies, and that is RC cars. We'll talk more about that some other time. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because I love that podcast. I love JQ. I love the banter between JQ and Lefty the Great. And Keenan's just cool, man. He's just really kind and like has a really good heart. And that's something that I think I've learned just listening to the podcast, but then getting to know him a little bit more just in like messages and stuff back and forth. We've just chatted and stuff a little bit about things other than RC. And I mentioned to him the podcast, right? And
Mhm.
the reason I mentioned the podcast is because in that first episode at the very beginning, when I said like something to the effect of, hey, thanks for checking out Stretch It Out podcast, right? I said that. And then I said, what's up, everybody? Like that. I don't know if you remember, but you have to listen
Yeah.
to the podcast. Well, that naturally came out of me because that's what he does on that freaking podcast every time, right? It's like his opener. And so it was so funny because I made Courtney listen to, she hasn't listened to the whole podcast yet, but I made her listen to the beginning, and she has heard him on that podcast, right? On the No Name
She
RC
call you
podcast.
out.
Well, she's heard him like a number of times because he, she heard Keenan talk for hours because we drove to Arizona, right? So the whole way there and the whole way back, that's what we listened to was the No Name RC podcast. So she picked up on it right away, and it was brilliant too because she just started dying laughing, like immediately is like cracking up laughing, and I'm thinking that's the reaction I guess I wanted, right? My wife's listening to my very first podcast, and she's crying laughing because it's that funny, and it was just pure just laughter at me because I'm that nerdy, and like she's like, you're such a dork, and so I'm dying laughing because she's dying laughing. I had to message Keenan and tell him, dude, you're not, like, check this out. My sister and I just started a podcast, and I did what you do every time. And it's just so funny. And I know that he actually laughed about that because that's funny stuff right there. But
But, like, did
anyway,
you mean to do it like that, or was it just a
no,
subconscious, like, "I'm just gonna do it"?
that's why it's so funny is because I didn't even mean to do it. And that's how you know I listened to that freaking podcast way too much. And so, but what's the best part is though, here's what's really cool about it. Like that was cool and everything. Cause I messaged him and he's like, man, that's great. And obviously being the cool guy that he is, he's like, well, what's the podcast about? Right. So I told him, I said, we just kind of talk about, some of the, just life, right. And different perspectives and so on and so forth. And we chat a little bit, and I basically said, we'd like to have people come on and talk to us. And we try to keep it around an hour. So, and he actually said he would love to come on. And that's when I sent you that message, and you were probably super confused because you're like, who is this guy? But now you know he is the host of one of my favorite podcasts. And he says that he would come on and we could chat. And I think he's got a really cool story. Honestly, I would love to be able to maybe even get JQ on one day. And what's great about it is these are guys that are just a huge part of something that's a big part of my life, and that's RC cars and RC racing. And it would be nice to be able to kind of take them, pull them aside, right, and actually talk about the things that we talk about here, just life. And I think they both got some really cool stories that could be
Yeah.
really, really inspirational for somebody else to listen to. So I thought that was cool. Shout out to Keenan if he does get to listen to this. I think we should take him up on his offer and we should bring him on. What do you think?
100%.
Awesome.
I would love
So
to hear someone else's voice other than yours, Nick.
I know that's what I'm
Just
saying. And
kidding.
and what's really cool is
Just kidding.
he's been doing this podcast for over a year now. I think they're on episode 60. I think 61 drops tomorrow probably. And doing one every week. And their podcast is like so much content. Like you're talking 4 hours, 5 hours of content, and just all RC related and stuff. So
Wow.
I think he would really enjoy the quick little departure from just the RC talk and kind of talk about some other things. I know we would really enjoy having him on because, like I said, he's just a really good dude with a really big heart. And I think again, he's got some things to share with people that could be inspirational for people. So
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I definitely want to get other people on this podcast because for like I said, for me, I love seeing other people's perspective on life or certain situations and things because it helps me understand more.
yeah. And
So,
everybody's a somebody, right? Everybody's a
yeah.
somebody. Everybody you meet is a somebody. I don't care where they're at in life, where they're at
Yeah.
in terms of status. Everybody you meet is a somebody, and everyone has something to share, something to offer. And so I think that it would just be really cool. And what a cool way to kind of mesh two things that I really enjoy, right? And love. I mean, that would just be super cool.
Yeah, for anybody who doesn't know Nick, because the two listeners, he's obsessed with RC cars. If you don't
Yep.
know what an RC car is, it's like it's like owning a very expensive Hot Wheels car that goes really fast that you constantly have to fix.
So you kind of downplayed it. You're kind of downplaying it a little bit, just a little bit, right? I was gonna go with
Courtney,
like, they
Courtney, can you
actually
please
call
be
it
a guest?
they call it scale motorsports, right? And it's a sport, right? It really, if
It is a sport.
esports is
It is
a thing,
very hard.
yes, I mean, this is the real deal. And I mean, there's just some raw talent out there, and the level of work and like homework that you have to do to be competitive at the professional level, with RC cars is just next level stuff. I mean, really, it's incredible, but you would never know it if you just scratch the surface. And sadly, most people, that's probably all they get, and so that's why I started Rookie RC. Shameless plug. But that's why I started that YouTube channel, because I want to do my part to help grow that, because I love it that much. So, but
No,
anyways,
the videos you make are really awesome.
Yeah, much appreciated. So if you want to be on the show, if you're listening, you want to be on the show, DM Audrey. Audrey, we want to get Keenan on the show. I think he would be down to do it. So I think you should DM him or send him a message on Facebook, and hit him up and say, hey, you talked to my brother. Let's get this thing going. You get it all scheduled, and then we'll talk next week.
Keenan, you got to send me, we'll have to sideline this, and you have to give me his Instagram. Can't just type in Keenan.
Are you really down to do that for me? That would be huge.
Yeah. I mean, I'll just loop you in on the conversation 100%. I'm not going to know
Yeah, maybe can we do like a group message on Facebook Message or something to hit him up?
And
you know what this means.
I don't.
You know what this means, Audrey.
What does this mean?
If Keenan's going to come on our show, you have to go listen to the No Name RC podcast, so you can have a little bit of an idea who you're talking to. Fair?
Yeah, I'll have to do my research. I will do my research. If anybody knows me, I do my research on things.
You got to make that happen. So, alrighty then.
But if you guys if any of our two listeners would like to be a guest, DM me on Instagram, Audrey_stretch, and we will set this up. Nick and I have actually set up, because we didn't want to run into the same conflict that we did today, that we will, going forward, try and make it every Monday recording, or a new podcast, new episode. There we go.
Yeah, try to have it drop, I would say, every Tuesday or Wednesday, I think. I think as we begin to get some more listeners, it'll be more important that we're punctual with that, with our schedule, and making sure that we're releasing good content. And we're going to continue to try to make it better, guys. And gals.
Yeah, so and if you guys have ideas of maybe something you're going through something, give us some ideas. What do you want
Shoot
us to talk about? You're the one listening.
Yeah, we would love to have a segment where we get to answer questions from listeners, and so questions, we could technically call it right now questions from Chris and Alyssa, but questions from our listeners should be cool.
We have a whole segment dedicated to you two. CNA.
That's right.
But no, I love it.
All right. Well, I got to get going because, like I said, Courtney's home. Noah's just got done with basketball practice, and I know Emma's not feeling well, so I've got to get back on the grind, right? Tomorrow's hump day. I
gotta go work out. So wish me luck, guys. Because like I said, I hate working out.
You get to go work out. You get to go work out. I get to go to work tomorrow. So it's all good.
We get to do everything. You know what? Let's get it. Challenge accepted.
Exactly. I just bring it in just like that. That's how we do it now.
Yeah. Cut me off and just...
All right.
We love you all, our two listeners.
Yeah. Appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Thanks for listening. We will be back next week, so don't get, what do you call it? Don't miss us. Don't miss us too much while you guys are gone.
Yeah.
While we are gone.
I'll be punctual.
All right, y'all. Audrey, thanks so much for jumping on and making this happen. Appreciate it.
Thank you for doing all the work.
It's what I do. Everybody take care.
You.
See you next time. Love y'all.